This is Ron Modern, and this is the weekly vlog for Gojutoshin Online Dojo. What I'd like to cover this week, I'd like to cover a couple of different things. One, I'd like to cover the skill of diaphragmatic breathing, and then also the skill of EFT. Both of those are very helpful in our training, and in fact, the diaphragmatic breathing is essential to proper training. Now, the diaphragmatic breathing itself, you may be familiar with that under different names. You may know it as belly breathing or baby breathing. It's called belly breathing because you want to use the lower abdomen when you're breathing. You want to inhale through the nose, you want to exhale through the mouth, and as you inhale through the nose, you want to push that lower abdomen out. And as you push that lower abdomen out, what it does is it pulls the diaphragm. Diaphragm is that muscular part, separates the organs in the upper body from the organs in the lower body. As you push that lower abdomen out, that pulls the diaphragm down. And as you exhale, that allows the diaphragm to come back up. Now, movement of the diaphragm in and of itself is irrelevant. Okay, that's really not what we're after. What we're after is vagal nerve stimulation. Now, that vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve. It runs out of the brain and wanders throughout the body. Vagus, where we get the word vagabond, right, means to wander. Connects all the major organs throughout the body. So what we want is to stimulate the vagus nerve. And we stimulate the vagus nerve, which runs right down beside that diaphragm, by moving the diaphragm up and down through the technique of the breathing. As we move that diaphragm up and down, it massages the vagus nerve and causes the release of certain neurochemicals, certain hormones in the body, neurotransmitters, such as serotonin, melatonin, and endorphins in the body. Now, serotonins, these are your Prozac type drugs. They cause the body to chill out. Okay, so oftentimes something like Prozac you take for depression, something like that. So it helps us to calm down. It's a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Serotonin is sort of the feel-good drug in the body. So what we're doing is we're increasing the serotonin in the body to help us relax, to feel better. Now, melatonins is your ambient type drugs, right? And melatonins are the things that help us sleep better, help us to relax and what have you. And then the endorphins, those are your morphine type drugs. So those really help us to chill out and also have some analgesic properties. All of these neurotransmitters and hormones we produce in our body naturally, and once again, stimulating the vagus nerve helps us to do that. About 90% of the serotonin that's in the body is not in the brain. 90% of the serotonin in the body is stored in the gut, okay? And through the movement of the diaphragm, through regular breathing, through that stimulation of the vagus nerve, it causes that serotonin in the gut to be moved to the brain on a sort of continual basis as we just go through our day. So what we want to do with the diaphragmatic breathing, and once again, this is a skill, okay? Now, skills, like any skill, I mean, we study martial arts, so we're learning skills all the time. Nobody ever was born knowing how to go through the skills that we train to do. Same thing with the breathing. We all breathe, but the reason this is called baby breathing is because this is the way babies breathe. We breathe diaphragmatically up until maybe about the age of 5 or so, maybe a little longer, maybe the age of 7 or 9, somewhere around in there. But as we get older, for some reason, we start breathing through our chest. Okay, so we start that chest breathing instead of the belly breathing. So watch a child, watch an infant. If you have kids, if you know younger kids or what have you, you watch them breathe, you will see them breathe through the belly. Obviously, we're breathing through the lungs. What I mean is they're using that lower abdomen to move the lungs. One of the things that happens when we pull that diaphragm down by forcing out that lower abdomen is it allows the lungs to expand more, so you get more oxygen in the lower lobes of the lungs than you do if you're just breathing through the chest. So we're increasing oxygen in the system through the diaphragmatic breathing as well, which we may come back and look at a little bit later. Now, as I said, this is a skill, so the more I practice it, the better at it I'm going to get. So this is not something that I'm going to master overnight. Now, the breathing itself fairly simple. The technique is fairly simple. However, I want to practice this technique often, okay, and it has very many benefits to martial arts training. In fact, this is where we sort of get our ki or ki hop when it comes from. Those we're using the breath to unite what's going on in the body and the mind at the same time. We're yoking those two things together. The mental and the physical are yoked together through the breath. This is where we get the term yoga, right? Yoga means to yoke, and what you're yoking is the body and the mind, and you do that through the breathing. So diaphragmatic breathing, very important. There are a number of different types of breathing that you can use, a number of different types of diaphragmatic breathing. The type that we use generally goes in for 4, hold for 4, out for 8. So we're using a count of 4, 4, 8. Now, if you look at something like Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, you're maybe familiar with some of his books on killing, on combat, and what have you. When he teaches soldiers and law enforcement, what have you, the breathing that he teaches them is called squared breathing. And what that is just 4 in, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, in for 4. It's just a square, so that's the reason it's called square breathing. 4, 4, 4, 4 is what you're doing there. Still diaphragmatic breathing. There are other forms of it. Wim Hof, if you're familiar with that crazy Dutchman who combines his diaphragmatic breathing with his cold therapy and commitment. Those form the 3 sort of tripod of his system, but diaphragmatic breathing is the main aspect of that. He does it a little differently, but it's still diaphragmatic breathing. They're still working on the diaphragmatic breathing. So this is a skill that has many uses. Like I said, it helps to yoke the physical and the mental together to create really to create that explosive energy that we often have, that we try to develop with the ki or the ki hop, whichever one we're calling it. So the diaphragmatic breathing, just for the technique itself now, is in through the nose for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, and exhale through the mouth for a count of 8. Now remember, when you inhale through the nose, you want to push out the lower abdomen. You don't want to breathe through the chest. If you breathe through the chest, you're not doing any diaphragmatic breathing. You're not getting any of the benefits of diaphragmatic breathing. So push that lower abdomen out. Inhale through the nose for a count of 4. Hold it for a count of 4. Don't let it rise back up. You don't want a tendency to rise back up, and you can feel that in your head if you let it do that. Don't do that. Okay, keep it down in the lower abdomen, and then exhale through the mouth for a count of 8. So once again, 4, 4, 8. Now you're in charge of the counting, so you can breathe as fast or as slow as you need to. Oftentimes when we do this, people say, well, I can't hold my breath that long. I can't hold my breath to that count of 4. Well, you're counting. You count whatever is comfortable for you. Comfortable and relaxing. That's another one of the reasons that we do this, right? Is we want to relax. We want to be calm. We find ourselves in a very stressful situation. Maybe some posturing going on or what have you, anxiety building in a situation that we can't get out of. If we can get out of it, we want to be out of it immediately. But oftentimes we don't get out of it because we start letting that emotion build up. That clouds our thinking, and then we're stuck having to maybe try to fight our way out of something that we could have got out of in a different way. And even if we have to fight our way out of it, if our emotions are clouding what's going on, then we're not at our best. So you can use this for a number of reasons. One is for self-defense, which means not getting myself into the situation to begin with, being able to look at something very clearly, even though emotions may be heightened, and think my way out of it, so I don't have to fight my way out of it. If I do have to fight my way out of it, then it helps there as well. Once again, this is taught to soldiers on the battlefield. It's taught for people who are in very high stress situations. Special operations groups use this sort of breathing and what have you, because it calms the body down. I need to have my faculties about me as I'm working in these high stress, high anxiety producing situations. So in for 4, hold for 4, out for 8. Now, if you can't breathe through the nose, if your nose is stopped up, if it's been broken many times, what have you, then you can breathe through your mouth. That's fine. just breathe. If you're familiar with Wim Hof, you know his famous quote on that. But at any rate, inhale through the nose if you can, because there are certain cognitive advantages to breathing through the nose. One of the things is that while we often think oxygen good, carbon dioxide bad, we have to have carbon dioxide to help the body function. So that helps to retain a little bit more of carbon dioxide when we breathe through the nose. So it helps the body function at a more optimal level. So in for 4, hold for 4, and out for 8. That's the diaphragmatic breathing. Once again, using that lower abdomen, pushing that out, pull the diaphragm down, let it go back up when the exhale. That stimulates the vagus nerve, and that's why we're over that vagus nerve stimulation. There are other ways to stimulate the vagus nerve. You can stick your face in a bucket of cold water, bucket of ice water. That'll do it. Okay. Don't have a bucket of ice water handy. May want to use the diaphragmatic breathing. There are, once again, talking, humming, especially that vagus nerve that runs out of the brain runs right down beside there, so right down by the vocal cords. So as we talk or as we hum, especially, that stimulates those vagus nerves and causes the release of those serotonins, melatonins, and endorphins in the brain. This is the reason that chanting, humming that you'll often hear in Buddhist practices helps to calm. Not only are they practicing a form of mindfulness, but they're also practicing the diaphragmatic breathing, the vagal nerve stimulation. So diaphragmatic breathing is certainly something that we want to practice all the time. It's a skill. I don't want to wait till I need it to try to practice it, because it's not going to work, just like anything else. You don't wait until you're in the middle of a fight to practice your techniques. Okay, you spend a lot of time on the mat practicing those things before you ever get there, so when you're there it works automatically. Same thing with the diaphragmatic breathing. The other thing that I'd like to cover briefly is the EFT. Now, EFT is emotional freedom technique. It's called tapping. Don't be afraid of it because it says emotional freedom technique. As I understand it, this technique was originally developed to help Olympic athletes who were working through performance plateaus. They reached a performance plateau, they couldn't get any further. They started using this technique, and that helped them break that plateau and move on. Gary Craig is one of the founders of EFT. You can find his videos on YouTube. The Ortners, Nick Ortner especially, is someone who has lots of the Ortner family. He, his sister, I think they have another brother out there who's doing this. Also deal with tapping. Now, I published a thing on EFT last week, I believe it was, on my Facebook page, which is the Modern Institute Facebook page. So facebook.com/Modern Institute. You can go through there, you can watch that video, you can go along with it. I'm going to do some briefly here, but if you want another one, you can use that one as well. Like the page, I publish a similar thing on there every week that looks at cognitive behavioral skills exercises that you may also find useful. So as we do the EFT, once again, this is tapping, and this is not only useful for something like working through a performance plateau, which it will help to do. Oftentimes we reach those plateaus, no matter how much we train, we can't seem to break it. Use the tapping. Okay, try that out. Once again, it's a skill. You're going to need to try it more than once to get it to work. But develop this, use this, much like the breathing. You can't use too much of it; it's not going to hurt you. So use it as often as possible. The other thing that EFT is useful for is pain management. Okay. Now, for serious pain management, we have some techniques for self-hypnosis and things like that we can use. The EFT is a good one, and I've read some research on that looks at managing pain that seems to be fairly effective with this. So you can use this, the normal aches and pains of training that we go through can be very useful for us there. So First thing you're going to do is just follow the sequence as we go along here. And once again, you can use this video to go back and look at it. You can use some other ones. This is the particular technique that we use. Other ones may be a tad bit different, but this is the one that we use here. So I just want to start at that first point, just that sort of called a karate chop point right there, right in front of that ox jaw on the hand. And you want to tap that. That's all we're doing. We're just tapping that with the fingertips there. Okay. Now you don't want to just barely touch it. All of the points that we will be tapping are acupressure points. Okay, so you need to stimulate that acupressure point. So as you don't want to bruise yourself, you have to use the dip dive jive from our last vlog. But start tapping that point. And as you do this, you're going to say to yourself, even though I have this problem, and whatever the problem is, you're going to fill in the blank there, okay? I don't know what your problem is. I don't know what you're working on, so I can't use that. If you're working on pain in the foot, for example, kick something wrong, got a pain in my foot, and say, even though I have this problem with this pain in my foot, I deeply and completely accept myself. Okay? Then move to the other hand, do the same thing. Even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. Now, remember to fill in the blank with whatever that problem is. Okay, once again, I don't know what your problem is, so I can't fill that in. So I'm just going to say problem, and then you would fill it in. Okay, so if it's a performance problem, right? Even though I have this problem with not being able to jump higher than 2 feet with my flying side kick, I deeply and completely accept myself. Okay. From there, we go to the top of the head. Okay, that top of the head. You practice this in, see this in something like Qigong, right? This is sort of called the gold. This is what they call the golden drum. Okay, the Chinese. That sort of wakes the body up. So even though we're starting with the hands, that's sort of called the initiating point there. You're gonna wake that whole body up, start that energetic system to be energized. So tapping there, even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. Then we're going to go to the point right at the eyebrow, right at the start of the eyebrow right there. If you hit with your fingertips, you can do it all along the eyebrow, but make sure you hit that point. Once again, we're going to use the fingertips here because there are also acupressure points in the fingertips. So you're also getting those as you do this exercise. So even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. I'm going to go to the sides of the eyes, sort of the corner right there, just right beside of it right there. And I don't want to go back here, so it's right beside the eye there. Even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. Below the eyes, even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. I'm going to go below the nose, that fill in there. Even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. Go to the chin, point of the chin, that knockout point right there. Even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. We go to the collarbone, just right around here. Just that little notch right there in the sternum, just right beside that. Even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. We're going to go to the ribs, just right below here, just right those ribs. Oftentimes you'll see people reach across and tap here or reach across and tap there. Those acupressure points run in a band from front to back all the way around the body. So anywhere right around there, even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. And then back to sternum once more, back in the collarbone area. Even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. And that's one round. And what you want to do is you want to go through 3 rounds. Now, if you're working with pain or something like that, then you always want to put that on a scale. So before you start, say that pain in my foot that I have is about a 6 right now. So on a scale of 1 to 10, right? And go through 1 round of tapping and see how it is, right? Well, it may be down to a 4 right now, okay, after 1 round of tapping. We want to go through 3 rounds of tapping, regardless of how you're doing. Go ahead and go through 3 rounds of it. So the second round, do the same thing. Go back through the same thing. Only the second time you do it, focus on the problem. So as I would be doing this, even on the activating point, some people don't go back and do the activating point. We do. Once again, it's just another acupressure point that we're hitting. 365 acupressure points on the human body that you can use. These are the ones that we use. Also, you'll see people who only do one side. They'll just do one side of the eye or what have you as they go down. We use both sides. We have those meridians that run on both sides of the body. There's no reason why we can't use both sides. So that's what we do. But that second one, start that over again and just say this problem. Fill in the blank. This problem. This problem. This problem. And go through the sequence. And then on the third round, okay, we want to focus on just the positive statement, okay? I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. Now, once you get through all three things, then go back and measure that, okay? So now the pain may be down to a 2, maybe down to a 1, maybe gone completely, whatever it is. Use it as many times as you need to. Once again, you're not going to hurt yourself with it, so use it as you need to. As many times as you need to, as often as you need to. Once again, that can help with overcoming training plateaus, also well with pain, things like that. Anxiety can, if I have performance anxiety, I know I'm getting ready to maybe go to a tournament, maybe do something like that. I'm performing for a belt test, whatever it happens to be. I can use that before I go in, help myself calm down, okay? So decreasing anxiety, things of that nature. It works wonders for that. So that's the EFT, that emotional freedom technique, that tapping technique that we go through. We've also covered the diaphragmatic breathing. Okay, can't stress enough how important the diaphragmatic breathing is. If you're doing meditation, then incorporate that into the meditation as well. The diaphragmatic breathing, once again, is the breath is how we yoke together the physical and the mental aspects. Those are combined through the breathing. So breathing, EFT, that's what we're covering. That's what we're covering this week. There are other tricks that we can use. If you're interested in a seminar, be happy to come and do a seminar for your school or group of people that you have, whatever you would like. And we can cover more of this more in depth. Also, remember that it is in my new book, Living Well, A Guide to Cognitive Behavioral Skills Exercises. It is also in my other book, Mastering the Way, Achieving Success in Martial Arts Practice. So both of those are available at Amazon.com. So thank you for your attention. This is Ron Modern for the weekly vlog for Gojutoshin Online Dojo. Thank you.